I'm Austin. I'm a software engineer. I've been doing this for about 7 years. I work primarily in Ruby on Rails and other web technologies, and lately I have been using Claude Code for absolutely everything. There hasn't been another tool that has captured my attention like this, and I think it is super important for other developers to understand how it works, how easy it is to get going, and just how crucial it can be. I am not exaggerating a little bit when I say that everything that I build now goes through Claude Code. It is amazing at a first pass for any kind of a new feature or bug fix or anything you're working on. I've just been working on so many different side projects. I've been increasing the rate of my learning. And I think that it's a fantastic tool that even if you don't want to use AI tools in the course of your writing code, I think it's important for you to know exactly what it is that you're missing out on. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the installation of Claude Code, how the different modes work, different commands, and then sort of my workflow to build a small CLI terminal application. So thanks for tuning in, and let's get right into it. All right, let's get started. This is going to be a pretty information-dense video, and so I'm going to be quick, but I will leave plenty of links down in the description below. First, you're going to want to go to the Claude Code docs. This is just a global NPM package. You'll copy this command, bring it to your terminal, and now you have Claude installed. Type in Claude to open up the terminal. He has his own interface. If you ever don't know what to do inside Claude, question mark will show you the different hotkeys. Some of the first things you should do with Claude is set up init to have a Claude MD file where he's able to maintain memories that he will process before any other input. Another thing you'll want to do is run the terminal setup. That way you can shift enter in order to create new lines inside the input. Now that we are in here, let's start by giving Claude a first instruction. We'll open up Claude. Sure, we trust everything in here. How about we say, make a hello world Ruby application that prints to standard output. Yes, I want to create hello world.rb. Now Claude will run Ruby RB, and you can see that output there underneath the bash tool. It is that easy at the core of it. A very useful Claude command to know about is when you do exit Claude, you can always launch it again with -- continue, and then you will continue with the exact same context that you just left. All right, now let's talk modes. When you're in Claude, you can use Shift-Tab in order to switch between normal mode, auto-accept mode, and plan mode. In plan mode, Claude won't do any actual coding. He'll focus on reading all of the code inside of your project to build an implementation plan with you. Now that we've seen the very basics of how Claude works, I say we get to work building our application. For this, we're going to be using OpenWeather. I've already signed up for an API key, and so that will be inside the project once we get to it. OpenWeather is a free API where you're able to make 1,000 calls per day to get current, future, and historical weather information. Feel free to check out the API docs. I'll include a link to that as well. Here you'll see my API keys. As you sign up for the OpenWeather API, it does take an amount of time for your API key to be enabled, even if you are on the free plan. Don't worry about it. Give it a couple hours and come back. Back to Claude. I say we build out our application, and for now it should be a very simple terminal CLI app where I can enter in, let's say, my zip code, and then from there Claude can tell me the weather. We're going to see part of my workflow here where I don't like to just straight up talk to Claude. For a very simple Hello World application, this works very well, but I'm going to show you my trick that I use to have a perfect prompt every single time. We'll go to Claude.ai, and we're going to tell Big Claude exactly what it is that we want to do. So first, this is exactly the application that we want to build. I can talk to Claude kind of like another engineer. Now I'm going to give Claude a role, take the role. And so now inside of our prompt, we have at the top what it is that we want to do. we give Claude a role to which usually large language models will respond a little bit better if they sort of have a role to play. And then we're asking in this specific format where I just want him to give me Markdown and then I can paste it into Claude Code and get to work. Let's go ahead and ask Claude. And then Claude immediately gets to work on building out this prompt. If it's one of your first times using Claude Code, you should know that there is a huge amount of input tokens that you can actually send to Claude Code, and it doesn't change anything to do with the output tokens that he can result, which is to say something like, go big on the initial prompt and then give as much context as you possibly can, and then the output will be better. So we'll copy our prompt, we'll go ahead and paste this in, and just let Claude get to work. Claude will maintain his own to-do list and work his way through it. That is really all that is agentic about Claude Code. Otherwise, that word is basically just a marketing term. So you can see that Claude has written out this nice Ruby file for us. We're not going to worry too much about code quality just yet. And then Claude will go ahead and test the application. First, we're going to chmod it. And after that, Claude will try running the application to see what it does. So you can see that there is some output there. You can push Control R to see the full output. And then we're going to go ahead and run it and see what happens with London. Oh, there is no API key. Time for human intervention. So in this situation, we're going to go ahead and use the exclamation mark. That lets us use bash mode. Sure, let's have a readme. In bash mode, you can run your normal terminal commands, so I don't even need this window over here technically. So we'll go ahead and open code on this folder. There we go. And so we have our initial hello world and then this weather app here. I'm going to go ahead and just paste in. I don't really need this right now. You should never do this with your projects, but since this is a simple YouTube video, I'm going to be deleting this key before this is uploaded. But you can see we have our API key in there. It's going to be hitting this weather endpoint. And then we can go ahead and give it another try by entering bash mode again. And we can do ruby weather app.rb. And let's try San Francisco to see what it says. We'll push Control R to expand that again. And you can see that we have a functioning API call where we are really hitting open weather and we are really getting an output directly back into our terminal. And it took all of seconds. Claude is extremely fast. And so just to exemplify some of the other tools, let's go ahead and enter planning mode. And let's say, Claude, look at our current files and write specs for weatherapp.rb. Let's use RSpec. Go ahead and install it. Then, hold on. Nice, you can. Okay, cool. So now that we're in plan mode, Claude is going to analyze our code base. It is a pretty small application at the moment, but I think this could be a good example to show you how it works and what it's doing exactly. So we're going to go ahead and run list, that is ls dot, just to see on the current directory what files we have, and then we're reading through the actual weather application. You can see this plan, it's pretty in-depth. We are installing the gem, we are initializing it, creating our specs. We're going to test that everything is loading. We're going to test the API interaction, and then we're going to test the entire flow. So Claude is able to think through the entire process for installing RSpec and basically just get to it. So planning mode is an easy way to get into auto accept edits mode. It's exactly what it sounds like. We'll go ahead and push enter. Now auto accepts are on, and so unless Claude comes up with a new command that has never been ran in your system before, like rmrf or maybe interacting with the GitHub CLI, he will be able to go ahead and read and write files just like normal. So since we haven't run gem through Claude before, we will go ahead and proceed, and we can even say to not ask again for any other gem install commands, because I want you to just get to work. We're going to go ahead and initialize and let him have permission for RSpec commands. Create your directories. Writing our first spec. If you wanted to look at the code closer, you can Control R again. We do see that we have this hard-coded check to make sure that we're using the right API key. Normally we'll throw that in an environment variable, but for now, who cares? AI is coming for our jobs anyway. Sweet, now that we've written all the specs, it's time for Claude to go ahead and run them. We see that we have some failing specs. Without any other input from me, Claude knows that he needs to fix these failing tests. So Claude will continue to make improvements until the tests pass. And then we can check that output. And it looks like all of our tests passed. And so Claude's to-do list is done. He's going to write a summary of everything that happened and then go ahead and give me those results. So we've implemented all these RSpecs. He has a list of everything that he completed, and we see that the tests are passing. So this is a super simple and short demo of what Claude can do. This works whether you're working in a small terminal application, you're building some bash scripts to improve your workflows, or if you're working in a production code base with thousands or millions of lines of code. Claude is a surgical agent that is able to dive directly in, solve problems, and implement best practices. This is a small taste of what I've been doing for the past few months, and I appreciate you sticking away to the end. Let's go ahead and try exiting here. Let's make sure that this is still working. We'll call help. Awesome. So that is still working. We can go Ruby weather app.rb. We'll say Tokyo. It's very hot in Tokyo. We can run it on Wales. We can run it on Vancouver, Canada. And as you can see, these terminal applications are super easy to build, and it's all thanks to Claude. If we take a look at the code, it's quite hard-coded, very explicit. But it is functional. We have our specs here where you can look. It essentially goes through the different cases that can happen inside this API, and yeah, it tests them. We have a fixture for an imitated response. This weather helper, it stubs the request, loads the fixtures. Basically, this is a small, perfectly functional, self-documented terminal application that we put together in 10 minutes of using natural language to talk to Big Claude through the interface and then Claude Code in our terminal. I hope you can see why this is useful, and I can't wait to show you guys more of what I've learned experimenting with Claude Code in the past few months. Thanks again.